Hello, relatives. The story I have for you today is actually a book. This book is really, really hard for me to read. I feel it very deeply. But if you're ready to heal and you've got the courage to feel your feelings, please listen to the end. So this book is called For Children Who Were Broken. For children who were broken, it is very hard to mend. We wanted them to love us. We didn't know what we did to make them yell at us and hit us and wish we weren't their kid. They'd beat us up and scream at us and blame us for their lives. Then they'd hold us close inside their arms and tell us confusing lies of how they really loved us, even though we were bad, and how it was our fault they hit us, our fault that they were mad. When days were just beginning, we sometimes prayed for them to end. And when the pain kept coming, we learned to just pretend that we were good, and so were they. And this was just one of those days. Tomorrow we'd be friends. We had to believe it so. We had nowhere else to go. Each day that we pretended, we replaced reality with lies or dreams or angry schemes in search of dignity, until our lies got bigger than the truth and we had no one real to be. Our bodies were forsaken with no safe place to hide. We learned to stop hearing and feeling what they did to our outsides. We tried to make them love us till we hated ourselves instead and couldn't see a way out and wished that they were dead. We scared ourselves by thinking that and scared ourselves to know that we were acting just like them and might even more be so. To be half the size of a grown-up and trapped inside their pain, to every day lose everything with no savior or refrain. To wonder how it's possible that God could so forget the worthy child you knew you were when you'd not been damaged yet. To figure on your fingers that the years till you'd be grown enough to leave the torment and survive away from home were more than you could count to or more than you could bear was the reality we lived in, and we knew it wasn't fair. We who grew up broken are somewhat out of time, struggling to mend our childhood when our peers are in their prime, when others find love and contentment. We still often have to strive to remember we are worthy and heroes just to be alive. Some of us are healing, some are stealing. Most are passing their anger on. Some give their lives away to drugs or to the promise of life beyond. Some still hide from society. Some struggle to belong. But all of us are wishing the past wouldn't hold on so long. There's a lot of digging down to do to find the child within, to love away the ugly pain and feel innocent again. There's forgiveness worthy of angels' wings for remembering those at all who abused our sacred childhood and programmed us to fall. To seek to understand them and how their pain became our own, is to risk the ground we stand on, to climb the mountain home. The journey is not so lonely as in the past it's been. More of us are strong enough to let the growth begin. But while we're trekking up the mountain, we need everything we've got to face the adults we have become and all that we are not. So when you see us weary from the day's internal climb, when we find fault with your best efforts or treat imperfection as purposeful crime, when you see our quick defenses, our effort to control, our readiness to form a plan of unrealistic goals, when we run into a conflict and fight to the bitter end, remember, we think that winning means we won't be hurt again. When we abandon our thoughts and feelings to be what we believe you want us to, or look at trouble we're having and want to blame it all on you. When life calls for new beginnings and we fear they're doomed to end, remember, wounded trust is like a wounded knee. It's very hard to bend. Please remember this when we're out of sorts. Tell us the truth and be our friend. For children who were broken, it is very hard to mend. It is very hard to mend. It takes so much courage and so much strength to admit how much we're hurting. To admit where we're broken within. We ourselves aren't broken. Most of us are on the mend. But so deep sometimes is the hurt inside. So deep is the fear to offend that we push it down, we push it away. We make it so that it doesn't matter. We tell ourselves so many lies, and yet come the voices inside. You don't deserve. You're not worthy. Who do you think that you are? We begin to realize that those voices we heard became our own voices inside. The pain of realizing we do to ourselves what was done to us. So angry and hurt at them while we do the same things to ourselves. We say the same hurtful words. Often we do the same hurtful things. While a part of us inside desperately seeks to just let go, to be happy, to believe we are lovable, to believe we are good, to believe we are deserving. We know we are. But so often with this past inside, it doesn't feel true. It doesn't feel like what we know is real. But I have found until I can admit what I do not want to admit. Because by admitting that, the grief and the hurt can be overwhelming. It feels like sometimes doing this inner child work, because that is what it is, that something inside me is dying, or my heart is breaking. And if I have the courage and strength to sit in it, to pay attention to it, and to let it pass, when I have the courage to finally cry, really cry, it passes, it heals. no longer holds the pain and the charge. For the parents that wounded us were wounded themselves, because what's inside is what comes outside. That's why everything in our world is such a beautiful mirror. And if we're not willing to look at the mirror, we don't know where we're cut. We don't know where we're bleeding. If we're not willing to take the triggers and look at what the source of that wound is, even though we know better, we know that's not what it is. If it feels like that's what it is, we're in conflict and we'll fight ourselves. And if we're fighting ourselves, we're hurting ourselves, because we're not sitting there going, yeah, for a time I believed that. For a time I believed that I was worthless and useless and nobody could ever love me. I believe that. So when somebody does something or says something, what the heck comes up? What's the feeling? I'm worthless. That's what I get. I'm freaking useless. I can't do anything right. How could this person love me? Of course, that's what they did, because they don't really love me. They just love what I do for them. It's because it hasn't been healed. There's a part of me there still believing those things. And I need to be able to sit with that part of me, not to go and correct it or tell it that it's wrong or show it the truth, but to just be with that injured part of me. To let them say what they need to say, even when it's horrible, even when it's heartbreaking, which you hear come up from inside, but to allow that space, because that's what love is, right? To let someone speak their pain, their fear, the darkest thoughts, and not judge or criticize them for it, not tell them that they're wrong, not try to make them focus on something good, but to just sit there and listen. That's what holding space is supposed to be, right? You just sit there and listen, and you don't do anything until it's time to do something, until they're complete in their expression, and then you love them anyway. You love them even though they feel that way. You love them even though they're self-abusing, even though they're saying I'm worthless and I'm horrible and I'm terrible and everything sucks and I just want to die. You love them anyway. Can you do that for you? Can you love yourself in your pain? Love yourself in your wounds. Love yourself in your hurts. Love yourself in all the horrible things that got in there, because they came from somewhere. It's not about blaming you. It's not about blaming them. What is done, but how you interpreted it and what you took away from it, that's what needs to change. Wounded people make wounded people. Hurt people hurt people. Pain creates pain. Fear begets fear. And if we keep passing it on, because we're not supposed to be angry, we're not supposed to be hurt, we're not supposed to be scared. It is what it is, man. I'm terrified. I'm hurt. I don't feel lovable. I don't feel strong. I don't feel good enough. If that's the freaking truth, how is it ever going to change if you can't admit that's the truth? If that is the truth, there's a reason. What's the reason? So you can be with that, so you can feel it through, so you can finish the process, because it's only on the other side of the emotions do you find the freedom and peace and love that you're seeking. People who walk through hell leave sparks in their wake. How do you know love if you haven't known pain and despair? How do you value it in the same way if it's always been there and it's always been given freely? Because I know for myself, I value love and compassion and non-judgment for people in their shit. Because I know that shit personally and intimately. I know what it feels like. I've let myself feel it, so I can sit and hold compassion for someone going through the same thing, holding faith and love. Because if I can do it, and I did it, if I can have that little death that happens in the pain of feeling what that was and what that felt like, in the pain of admitting that's what I experienced. Right or wrong has nothing to do about it. That is how my little tiny brain experienced that. And come out the other side. Isn't that a gift? Isn't that a blessing? Isn't that turning pain into power? Isn't that making everything that happened to me useful and valuable in the now? I believe it to be so. Fully, because I've seen it, because I've witnessed it, and I am fully aware that heaven, peace, freedom, wholeness, it's on the other side of hell. And I haven't found any other way to get to it except for through. And I can't get through if I'm not aware and attentive and feeling my feelings, admitting what I need to admit, acknowledging that it's mine and nobody else's. My healing, my interpretation, my beliefs, my pain. And it's for me to love and accept. Because nobody out there knows exactly what it's like to be you. They can't. And for those of us that really want to be understood in our pain, the only way to fully be understood in your pain is to have had someone go through the same experience. And is that what you really want? Does it need to come from the person that you want it to come from? Because that means that they would have had to experience that level of pain in order to understand your pain. Or can you find gratitude that they don't understand? Because it's beautiful that they don't understand, that they were spared that. And seek out and call in someone who did experience something that you went through, so you can be held in that, understood in that, to know that you're not alone. So what I would ask you, for those of you that made it this far, let me be living proof that you can heal. You can find love. You can come to a place where you believe and feel yourself to be lovable and worthy and deserving. The path can be hard and it can be long, and we're going to be healing for the entirety of our lives. But every time we do, everything gets more beautiful. Everything gets brighter. Everything gets lighter. And the world around you changes. And you become the gift to all those that are on the path. You become the gift of proof, of love, of healing. You become the proof that the work is worth it. So cry your cries, my friends. It is not weak. It's not weakness to cry. Tears, it's an alchemical process that is happening, because it means that you are no longer in alignment with those mean, cruel voices, with those old beliefs inside you. It means that you're finally processing. It means that you're purging that pain. It means that you're moving through that hell. So if you can cry, really cry. Not the brain cry, but the feeling cry. Celebrate that. Grief is appropriate. It is not a negative emotion. Grief means that you have new awareness. Grief means that you're finally accepting and letting go. Much love, relatives. Be gentle with yourself. Loving and kind and accepting. Reject nothing you find inside. Tell yourself and then show yourself that there is nothing that you can show me that I cannot come to a place of forgiveness for. Have a beautiful day.